The Washington Redskins released Josh Norman. Baker Mayfield is getting slobberoonies behind Cheesecake factories. And should the Buffalo Bills sign Tre White to his extension this offseason? It's all coming up right now on this edition of the Don Mafia Report. Well, Don Mafia. What's going on? What's going on, party people? I feel like it's been a while. 3 days to be exact. But you know what? There's a lot of news going on in the NFL, and it's my civil duty to bring it to you. But guys, like I said, we have a very exciting show for you today. We're going to be covering the recent release of Josh Norman. We're going to be talking about BJ Gate. Just in case you don't know, Baker Mayfield was getting extramarital blowjobs behind Cheesecake factories. It's alleged at this point, but still a super funny story to take care of. And then last but not least, we want to discuss whether or not that Tre White is going to be extended during this offseason, while his fifth-year option has yet to be picked up. There's a lot for us to unpack today on the Don Mafia Report. Before we dive into that, guys, I've said it in my last video, but me and my buddy Boston Austin, we ended up starting our own very podcast. It's called the Don Mafia Show. It's an NFL-centered, focused podcast that can be found on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts or the Google Play Store. Basically, wherever the hell you listen to podcasts, you'll be able to find it. So, it would mean the world to me if you would follow it, and then you would give me your feedback. Tweet me at RealDanMitchell. Let me know what you think. What type of topics do you want me to discuss? And we'll just go from there. Let's hop into our first story. Josh Norman. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We remember him as the electrifying cornerback that played for the Carolina Panthers, particularly in the 2015 season where the Panthers made a run to the Super Bowl and ultimately choked. So once that season concluded, Josh Norman, he proved himself. He was an absolute stud. He wanted to be paid. Unfortunately, the Carolina Panthers, they didn't want to pay him, right? So he ends up going to the Washington Redskins. And it's super funny because it almost seems like the second that his signing bonus hit his bank account, his quality of play spiraled downhill. Now, I'm not sure what hurts worse to Josh, knowing that he didn't earn the money that he was paid, or the fact that his ex-coach Ron Rivera takes the reins right of the Washington Redskins, and one of his first moves in charge was releasing him. Definitely a sting in the ass. But now, ladies and gentlemen, that serves the question. Where is Josh Norman going to go? Is he going to retire? He's 32 years old, and, he's proven to not be the same cornerback that he once was, particularly in 2015. Or is he going to sign a one-year prove-it deal? Very modest compensation, but then absolutely ball out. Me being a Bills fan, this is 110% a Brandon Beane move. Now, was having a conversation with a Redskins fan the other day, and he was saying the reason that Josh Norman was so good in Carolina was the fact that he had an amazing front four. Like, that defensive line was absolutely incredible by continuously pressuring the quarterback. And of course, that made quarterbacks make bad decisions, hence the amount of interceptions that Josh Norman was able to commit. So, should the Buffalo Bills get this guy? Me personally, say that Brandon Beane just wants to throw him $2 million, $3 million for a one-year prove-it deal. I am all on board. Worst case scenario, he's just depth for Levi Wallace, Kevin Johnson. We need some cornerbacks, and then maybe he could, be a surprise. But wherever Josh Norman ends up, the Don Mafia Report wishes him nothing but the best. All right, next story. Baker Mayfield. Move over, Deflategate. Move over, Spygate. BJ Gate is the number one topic in NFL controversy today. It's surprising that there's a controversy out there when the New England Patriots are not involved. I'm sure they're ecstatic about this. But just in case you haven't heard, so there was a girl that came forward claiming that she met Baker Mayfield and gave him a good old slobberoony right behind a Cheesecake factory. This is not something to laugh about, especially since Baker Mayfield just got married I believe a month before the alleged incident happened. She went on this radio show and she got into, some pretty severe detail, right? So she ended up saying that she sent Baker Mayfield a Snapchat, of her wearing his jersey and stuff along those lines. And then I guess they eventually got into a texting relationship, and then they ended up getting into a Snapchat, like him sending up D-pics and shit like that. And so her sending him tit shots, a very inappropriate relationship, but hey, not gonna judge here. So apparently, he meets up with her. He tells her to leave her phone in her car and then meet up with him in his SUV and just perform a nice little blow-jobbity job. And so she went into full detail about that. I'm going to go on ahead. I'm going to link that interview in the description in case you wanted to look through the entire thing. It's super funny because it seems like in the 2019 offseason, Baker Mayfield just could not connect with OBJ, but he had no problem with connecting with randos behind cheesecake factories for BJs. Maybe that was the reason he was so shitty. Who knows? What made it even funnier was the fact that while the girl was being interviewed, another girl called in and said, yeah, same thing happened to me while he was engaged, and he told me to meet him in his car behind a cheesecake factory. Now, I have no idea. When I did my intro to this video, I had to do about 7 or 8 takes trying to look the camera in the lens and say Baker Mayfield was getting slobberoonies behind a cheesecake factory. I have no idea why the fact that the setting of the blowjob was at a cheesecake factory, that just, makes me laugh out loud. Whatever. Like I said, that interview is going to be linked in the description in case you want to hear the full juicy details. Let's figure out, is this going to be the controversy of the year? Most likely not, but what have you. So now on to our main story. Should the Buffalo Bills extend Tre White this offseason? Now, this was not a topic that I wanted to cover so soon, but one of my favorite Buffalo Bills personalities, Marcel Louis Jock. Marcel, say that I'm mispronouncing your name. My sincerest apologies. Big fan of you, dude. He ended up putting out an article trying to convince the Buffalo Bills or make a case why Tre White should be extended. Right now. There's no question that Tre White, right, has proven himself. Not one bit. Last year, he led the league in interceptions. He didn't release a single touchdown in 599 snaps. I mean, there's really nothing else for this guy to prove. He deserves to be paid. So, during this offseason, Tre is entering his 4th year, and the Buffalo Bills have yet to utilize his 5th-year option, which is essentially a team's way of maintaining your star players, but at the same time, doing it at the cheapest and most cost-effective way possible. So as you know, the Bills have over $80 million in cap space this offseason to play with. Now, Marcel goes into his article saying that there's a couple of players that are in more of a need, sort of for an extension. Hence, Matt Milano, and then I believe it was Dion Dawkins. So those two likely need to be extended before Tre White, right? The entire question remains that we've still yet to exercise Tre White's 5th-year option, which would essentially guarantee him $10 million in 2021. And they could essentially postpone that conversation until next offseason. Now, Brandon Beane was quoted in saying that he is willing to start having conversations about an extension with Tre White, his team, and the Buffalo Bills organization. But in my opinion, I don't think that Brandon Beane is going to bite the bullet quite yet, especially since out of all of the cornerbacks since 2011, I believe, Marcel pointed this out, there hasn't been a single cornerback that has received an extension before a team has exercised the 5th-year option. So, will Tre White be the unprecedented statistic where we just give him a fat-ass extension this offseason since we're absolutely rolling in cash? Maybe. It's definitely a point. There's no question that Tre White has proven himself, like I have said before. But should we do it now? I really, really want to hear your thoughts, your thought process. Do me a favor, leave a comment. What do you think? Should we extend Tre? Should we just exercise his 5th-year option and have that conversation next offseason? I don't know. let's talk about it. But besides that, Don Mafia, thank you again for tuning in to yet another edition of the Don Mafia Report. I just so happened to be filming this during Valentine's Day, and I thought that it would be appropriate for me to let you know how much I appreciate you. You guys are the reason that this channel is alive and thriving. I'm pretty sure I'm gaining about 400 to 500 subscribers per month, which is awesome. So the Don Mafia is continuously growing on a very, very strong trajectory. And without you, none of this would be possible. So say that you're new here, be a part of the movement, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and subscribe to my podcast. Say that you want to hear some NFL-centric content and hear jokes that will make you defecate yourself laughing. Then you will not regret subscribing to the Don Mafia Show, either on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the Google Play Store. Besides that, guys, thank you for tuning in to yet another edition of the Don Mafia Report. And above all else, let's go Buffalo.